Hi, welcome to this short little video on GCSE Philosophy, Religion and Ethics, or PRE for short. I'm Miss Green for those who don't know me, and the other teacher for this subject is Miss Phillips as well. So in this course, the question is probably going to be, what am I going to actually study? So really, you're going to look at kind of those philosophical and ethical discussions within your first year, and then in your second year, you kind of narrow down more into those specific religions. So you'll look at kind of ultimate questions, why does evil exist? What is the purpose of life? But you also look at some ethical questions, whether euthanasia can ever be morally right, when does life begin, and what makes things like abortion acceptable or not acceptable? Is there a certain time limit? Is it when a baby's born, does that mean life begins, or is it actually when the heartbeat starts, etc.? So you're going to kind of look at topics that kind of explain the diversity of life and kind of religion as well in the modern world. You'll improve your philosophical thinking skills and kind of that ability to think outside the box, but also to take a step back and kind of go, my opinion is this, but it's interesting. I can see why they think that, and I can see why they think that, and actually which argument out of those two do I think is stronger? You'll kind of get an understanding of contemporary ethical and religious issues. So we're going to look at medical ethics, which I've sort of mentioned already with the kind of euthanasia and the abortion, etc. But you also develop those communication skills and that ability to express your views, but also to back up those views and to kind of challenge others and to evidence your and justify your argument. If I just show you exactly what the course looks like, this is a rather nice little infographic for you. So the paper one, so it's split into three papers. Paper one is your big philosophy and ethics paper, and it's split into four themes. So you'll look at issues of relationships. Your second one is your life and death, which is where sort of medical ethics comes into play. Then you'll look at good and evil. So we'll look at what makes a criminal, where does that come from? And then the last one is human rights. So we're looking at those kind of human right violations. What is equality? What is fairness? And do kind of violations still happen today? And then your paper 2 and paper 3 is what you will cover in year 11. We start paper 2 a little bit in the summer of year 10. We're particularly quick. And that's split into two separate units. So we do Islam as our world faith because it's the one we will look at in that paper 1. So you'll look at kind of atheist views, what society's views are, so what the rule of law is on particular topics. You look at humanist views obviously as well. But then we'll look at Christianity and Islam. If you think about the two largest religions in the world being Christianity and Islam, it makes sense that we bring in their perceptions and opinions on those difficult topics, which will give you a nice broad kind of overview. So that's why we have then a Christianity paper and then we have an Islam paper. So you get 2 units, beliefs and teachings, and then the second unit being practices. So basically, what do they think and what do they do? So split up quite nicely, very nice paper. So does this subject actually facilitate other subjects and what you kind of want to do in your future? Absolutely. It facilitates history, English, art, philosophy, science, and psychology. So if you're thinking about your A levels already and thinking, well, I quite like the idea of sociology or psychology or philosophy, those in particular really marry up together and they have a lot of crossover. But it's also your kind of arts and your English and that developing those language skills, but also even in science, philosophy, religion, and ethics tend to, look at those why questions rather than necessarily those how questions, and gives you that kind of broader understanding of those. And obviously in history, we actually have quite a bit of crossover. So people like Martin Luther that you would look at in A level within his history, and we also look at him a little bit at the GCSE as well, but also the prison reformers. So like Elizabeth Fry and John Howard come up in the history course as well. So there are those nice little crossovers between them. So if we're thinking about what the exam actually looks like, because it's 3 papers, we are really lucky in the sense that the exam is literally a carbon copy of itself over and over again. So for each of those themes, it literally has the same layout. You get a 2-mark question, then a 5, then an 8, and then a 15. And that's for all 3 papers, so for each unit. So really nice. And the 2-marker is a definition question. And the really great bit is the exam board gives us the list of questions that could come up for the 2-markers. So we know for each unit there are 9 words that could come up, and it'll be one of those 9, which means you just learn the definitions of those 9 words, and it's an easy 2 marks you get straight away at the beginning of the paper. The 5-mark describe question is very much just 5 points, which is the skill they've been practicing at Key Stage 3 anyway. It's just literally, there's the question, 5 points about that topic, and then you're explaining, giving that kind of that classic Peel paragraph, and then your discuss question is your debate one. So it's a big statement, really broad, and you've got to kind of bring in everybody's debates and arguments around that topic. So it could be a statement that abortion is always wrong. It could be euthanasia should be legal. It could be belief in afterlife is pointless, for example, and then you've got to argue why some people would agree and some people wouldn't. So you'd kind of get maybe your atheist view or maybe a scientific view to say, well, science has proven there isn't a place underground, you know, that is hell. But then you can get your kind of religious views and they go, well, actually, I've got this sacred text that says that there's hell, you know. So you've got all these different opinions, and that's your 15 markers. So it's a really fun question. There isn't a right answer. There are lots of answers. You've just got to engage in that debate and that discussion within that question to get those kind of top marks. Lastly, I was just going to show you the fact that this subject literally prepares you for absolutely loads of different walks of life and different careers. So I've got a police officer there, someone working in sales, a director of operations, a midwife, got the bell going off here, catering manager, and a lawyer, amongst many, many more. This is not a subject where you pick it and then you have to go and do a degree in philosophy and that's all you're ever going to be. It is very much a very facilitating subject that gives you a really broad skill set that can kind of develop into whatever else you want it to be. So if you have other plans for your A-levels, it will facilitate and support you with those A-levels. But yeah, that's me. So thank you very much for your time, and hope I'll see you in September.